Hello and welcome back to another episode for Project Seed Money. I am so excited you are here and I'm interviewing today editor Brooke Black. I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you for joining us and I can't wait to get into this with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have you been in this editing and publishing world very long? What drew you to this area?
No, I haven't been formally in this world a very long time. I've always been an avid reader. I've always been, and every editor will have the same story to this capacity where they'll say, I was always the person that edited everything for my family or my friends in high school. And so I do have that in common with every editor on the planet. But I did go to school for English communications, living on the dream that I would one day, publish a book and be a bestseller and make my whole living off of that one grand slam book. And that didn't happen. And I ended up going back to school for a master's degree, and I had a job editing grant proposals as a developmental editor for a school. And in that time, I was still that person that everybody was sending their documents to for help. One of those people was my mother-in-law who wrote a book, and she finished her contract with a former editor and it still needed some work. There were still some things that she hadn't quite figured out completely, and there was just more work to be done. And I ended up agreeing to be the editor for her, just informally. And I really fell in love with it. I pulled out a lot of the things that I learned as in my undergrad as an English major. And around that time, I had shifted into being the in-house editor for a consulting company that I was also working for. And I really just fell in love with the editing process, and I realized that I kept getting drawn back into that work. So in the end, COVID happened. Long story short, COVID happened. I was a work from home mom that was raising children and being a homeschool mom during the pandemic. And I launched Black Bear Communications, and I was flying the plane while making it. And it's become its own little entity. And I've grown and grown, and I've invested in a lot of professional development. And I've turned this into a career. I've definitely had to go back and do a lot of training that I missed out on whenever I probably should have gotten a master's degree in this instead of going for something else. But I mean, I wouldn't be an average person if I was actually using the degree that I went to school for, right?
I think we've talked about this before because my master's is in psychology, which has
Yeah.
like nothing to do with helping people with grants, although I did have grant training. So it's like so full
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah, it was full circle. And then I realized in every job that I've ever had, I was still doing editing. I just wasn't naming myself as an editor and monetizing it. So once I realized that I could monetize it and build a business and work with the type of people that I want to work with, it really blossomed and flourished into this company that has changed my life.
That's so cool. That's so beautiful. And I love your whole origin story. It's like you kind of were all in all these different areas, but the whole time you were editing, you were still
Mhm.
doing that of like, let me help you make this the best that it is meant to be.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really beautiful. So if I was coming to you and I'm coming to hire you as a client because I think you're amazing and you're magnanimous energy and I already love your story, what would that process look like for me? Like, how long in advance should I get hold of you if I'm writing my manuscript? How involved do you want to be in that process? And how should I plan that for myself as an author?
Most of the time, if you're writing a book, you would not hire an editor until later in the process, whenever you have about a draft ready. Now, there are book coaches available, and my editing service has this book coaching component, if you so wish. Everything's obviously customizable when you work with me. I do not think that anybody needs to wait to write a final draft before they're looking at editors and talking to editors. If you are working with me, you can come to me at any phase of the journey. From I've worked with people that have had the draft sitting under their bed for 12 years. I've worked with people that just have an idea and they don't know where to start. So it doesn't matter to me where you start if you're going to join the Hive Collective as a member and do the coaching component. If you're just looking for a one-off editing gig, then after your first draft is complete or somewhat of a first draft is complete, I can always give you some feedback if you're not really ready to invest in that editor. But if you're just looking for a one-off editing service, then probably around the end of that first draft being done. If you're looking to be part of the Hive Collective, then it really doesn't matter. We've had people come after their book is published to join the Hive Collective because they want to get help with the social media component or maybe republish in a different way. So it really doesn't matter. Any part of the journey is fine. If you're going to connect with me, you can come at any part of the journey and I can also tell you what would be the best investment for you.
That's amazing. That's so cool. And it's cool because that's not the answer that I've gotten from any other editor. Every other editor has told me like, oh, way, way at the end of your manuscript. So I feel like your hand-holding approach is more like we're connecting, we're doing this journey together. And I do want to ask you to speak a little bit more about the Hive Collective because this community sounds incredible. It's not just a community. You also have education and guest speakers who come in.
So it's a collaborative editing process is the biggest component of it. And with the Hive Collective, we have quite a few program components, and you can pick and choose which ones you want in your membership. Because to this day, we haven't had more than one person do this exactly in the same way. It's not cookie cutter at all. So one of the components is the collaborative editing process. That's the biggest part for most people. That's whenever I say you can come at any part of the journey, whether it's the end and you have a draft done or whether you just have an idea. I meet you where you're at and we work to finish the book together. That includes every level of editing from developmental to line editing, copy editing, proofreading. It's everything. There is a minimum requirement though. I always tell people this because you can't just sign up for one month of the Hive Collective and be like, okay, now my 90,000 word memoir is going to be edited by the end of the month and I only have to, pay for 1 month of it. No, there is a minimum requirement. But yes, we can meet you any part of the way. The other components are we do social media strategy. So we have a digital marketing strategist that meets with our authors quarterly. Some people have upgraded to meet more regularly if they need a little bit more support. But this person helps design brand guidelines and elements, logos to help everybody promote their author presence on social media. She helps design the proposals that we send to publishers if you are doing the traditional publishing route. And she meets with you for overall strategy and just gives advice. She's young. She loves social media. So she's a great person to bounce ideas off of. She's very, very talented. We do swarm sessions, which are they're kind of like webinars, but they're more of a happy hour feel. So we bring in industry professionals, or sometimes we just meet with one another and we just get cozy. We bring our drink of choice. We hang out. We shoot ideas off of one another. And then sometimes we bring in industry professionals to learn from them. So we've had agents come in. We had an agent come in and we practiced pitching to the agent. And the agent actually was going to follow up with a few of the people that pitched to her. I don't know where that will go, but it was good practice, especially. We have some people that are coming to talk to us. They're from the Ritual Sisters podcast. They're going to come talk to us about productivity and routine and things like that. So they're not even experts in the writing fields, but they are going to come in and speak on behalf of the routines and the ways that we can be more consistent with our writing. So we do all kinds of sessions from writing crafts to publishing industry to lifestyle, anything that we can tie back to the writing process. A lot of social media. We have a lot of social media swarm sessions because there's so much to learn about social media. There's a lot more program components, but if I went through all of them, it would take forever. Those are probably the biggest 3 or 4, the ones that I just named. But we also do like querying support and proposal support. So if you're taking that track of traditional publishing, we can help you in that way. If we're taking the self-publishing track, we have a mentor that comes in and she can help you with the process of securing an ISBN or how to appeal to bookstores or uploading to KDP, all of those things. So basically, we are holding your hand from the moment you have an idea until the book is published or until you end a contract with us. So it's a really, really fun, holistic experience.
That's so incredible. And it feels like such a huge resource for authors because it can be so solitary to write your book and to do these projects. But if you have people that you're going through the process with, and you're
Mhm.
doing these things together and you're learning together. I can't see anything better than that. That seems
Yeah,
cool.
it's really great to be part of community, especially in this world when we're really working on our own in this solitary way, especially when you think of writers, you don't picture people that are really networking. A lot of us are introverts, but that doesn't mean that we don't need community. And it doesn't mean that it's not helpful to bounce ideas off of each other. Like, for an example, we have two people in the Hive Collective that are about the same age, I think both in their 60s, and social media is not coming easy to them, but they're both learning very quickly. And something came up the other day where one of them is very outwardly hard of hearing. She is a child of deaf adults. It's a very big part of her book. It's part of her identity. She talks about it a lot. We had no idea that this other author was also hard of hearing. And she was really struggling in our Zoom meetings and our swarm sessions to keep up. And she reached out, not to me, but to the other person in the hive. And they talked with each other about how to be able to hear and keep up better in these swarm sessions because they didn't grow up doing Zoom and this didn't come easy to them. It was really neat to see that, like, I was kind of the afterthought in telling about this, and they were working together on their own. And I was like, oh my God, at first I felt left out. And then I was like, that was the point. They have each other. And I know nothing about this. So why would they, other than me maybe turning on subtitles and transcribing things, like I don't know why I would need to know. So it was just really neat to see the ways that they're connecting with one another. Sometimes it's like genre specific. This time it was age and disability. And so it's just been really neat to see them have their own connections on their own and realizing that this is actually working.
Yeah, it's proof that you've created a safe place for these people because not only are they coming to you, but you're creating an environment where those people are all like-minded and they're enjoying each other's company. And it obviously doesn't feel competitive or anything like that because they're coming together. That's so cool.
Yeah. And we change a lot of the way that we talk to be less competitive as well. So, for example, when you submit a proposal to publishers, there is a section for competitive titles. And when we design proposals at Black Bear, we do not use the word competitive. We change it to comparable titles. So we do little things like that just to kind of shift mindset in the way we work with one another, especially whenever the hive is predominantly women. I've never said it can only be women, but it is predominantly women, or at least predominantly feminists. And so we don't need to be competing with one another. We already have so much going against us. We want to be uplifting one another. And that starts with just like the words that we say in this industry. And so publishers might be looking for competitive titles, but when they look at our proposals, they're going to see comparable titles. It means the same thing. They know what it means. These people know words, they can figure it out. But we've shifted some ways in which we talk about things and the way that we operate to hopefully have these like little micro changes that will maybe one day snowball into some bigger changes in this very, very old fashioned industry.
Yes, yes, especially yes, what we're trying to do is just normalize all of those. We don't have to be competing against each other type
Yeah.
of propaganda. Like it doesn't need to be one man at the top. We can just like all grow together. I can't imagine if only one book was published a year or even a month, like the consumption rate is so high. I can't imagine if we didn't all put our words out there. It's so important. So if someone is coming into and they're writing their book and they're looking for this support and maybe they don't find this exact community, but what can we share with them as far as like some of the red flags in the industry? Like if they're asking questions for other editors, what are some things like immediately no, I've seen enough, like
Yeah,
hire this editor.
probably unrealistic fast turnarounds. So if they say something can be, I mean, and it depends too, but if they say something can be edited in a few weeks and you have a full manuscript you're sending to them, that's not realistic. Things take months to edit well. If they say they're going to get it back to you and then the project's over, that would be a red flag to me because I would be looking for someone that is going to let me see the revisions first and then bounce ideas off of each other before we move forward. So that's going to take time. The second would be the lack of genre specificity. So A good editor understands the conventions of a genre and what readers expect. They'd be able to tell you what they prefer to edit. Just like if you asked an avid reader what they prefer to read, they might say, well, I read everything, but I usually lean towards this. If they don't specify, that's a red flag to me, because you want somebody that really lives in that genre and not someone who's just going to take a stab at it. It influences pacing, character development, tropes. That translates to reader expectations. So a mismatch could water down your voice quite a bit. And also, it's not going to put you in a good position to appeal to publishers. And if you're going the self publishing route, it's not going to appeal to your target audience if you have a different type of editor working with a manuscript for a genre they're not comfortable with. I think a mindset that I would want to work with would say, hey, I don't really work in that genre, but here's a list of editors I know that do. And I do the same thing. I'm not a huge romance or fantasy editor. If they really want to work with me, I'll bring in one of my junior editors that does specialize in that genre, and I'll have them do the developmental edit, and then I'll help with like just the line editing and proofreading. Another red flag would be if they don't have any credentials or a track record. And I don't say this to poo-poo on a new editor. I get it. I jumped into this industry very late in my career. I shouldn't say very late in my career, but what feels kind of late in my career. And I know what it's like to not have a huge portfolio, but you should be able to provide something. An editor, if they don't have a portfolio, they could have a sample edit or at least have a clear process outlined. So something that establishes a little bit of credentials, and they're not just saying that they were the person in high school that did the editing. There's so much more to that. So if they can't establish credibility in one way or another, if they can't get creative and figure out a way to establish some credibility, then they're not probably somebody that I would trust to use. And then I think the last thing would be, my last red flag would be a one size fits all price. Like if they tell you a price before they even look at your manuscript, manuscripts might only need a certain type of editing. Some of them are going to need all the editing. And so if they're just telling you a number before they even look at it, it could be way too high or way too low. And if it's way too low, they might be over their head and give up halfway through or not do a quality job. If it's too high, then you're wasting money. If they're not giving you tailored options, like tailored to your manuscript, I would be a little bit weary. I'm not saying that there's not good editors that don't do those red flags sometimes. I'm just saying that those are things that I would maybe question a little bit.
Yeah, and I love that because if I'm a brand new author and I'm just starting this process for the first time and I have no concept of what does it mean to even have this conversation with the editor, I want to know that there are a couple of things that immediately like, maybe that's not a good thing. Like if I immediately get a price back, then I would know, oh, well, how are they even connecting or making that price? Like that
Right.
seems wrong. Like what if someone's manuscript is 500,000 words minus 100,000 words? So it's just totally completely different. So I love the outline that you have given us for the red flags. And then that kind of leads perfectly into my next question. These people are going to have these onboarding conversations and they're going to ask these editors what? So let's talk a little bit about what types of questions someone should be prepared to ask an editor when they're just pitching them for the first time. Maybe they're looking for a couple to make sure that they're matching communication style. What types of questions should they ask?
So what genre do you specialize in? What types of editing do you offer? And if they say that, they do one, ask if they have referrals, because if they don't have referrals, there's probably a reason that they don't know any other editors in the industry. So good editors do network, and we do send each other clients all the time. So I think that if they said, oh, I only do developmental, then you're like, okay, well, do you have a list of referrals for whenever I get to the line editing or the proofreading stage? I would ask for their process and what methods do they use to deliver feedback. So are they going to be working in Google Docs? Are they working on a software that I have to invest in? Are they working on Microsoft Word that I might need to invest in? Things like that. Their stance on AI. Make sure it aligns with your stance on AI. And maybe their communication style. I think that would be a good one, because a lot of times my biggest issues that I've had with clients is when we aren't on the same page with how we communicate. And I've had some that don't want to meet regularly. They just want to see my red pen on the paper. And I say that like metaphorically because it's not really red pen on paper, but they just want to see what I'm marking up in the document. I have some people that need a meeting every single week so that I can reassure them that they are a good writer and I'm just an editor that's here for a job and I'm not trying to make them feel bad. I have some people that need a lot of reassurance. I have some people that don't want to hear from me. They just want me to do the job. So I like to have that as an editor. I like to have that conversation with clients early because I can match that energy either way, but I don't want to waste energy on somebody that doesn't want to hear from me. And I don't want to neglect somebody that needs to hear from me. I think that would be it for my big questions. Other than
Yeah,
like, the obvious that are like price,
Yeah.
start date, like what's their capacity? When could
Mhm.
they start? What is their workload like? Is this a really busy season and we need to wait a few months? Are you going to be a little bit behind because you're wrapping up another project? Like those things, which some people might not be as comfortable talking about, but I think a lot of people would and appreciate that you're considering those things.
Yeah,
I think those are the big questions I would ask.
amazing. That's so helpful. Thank you so much. This has been such an incredible conversation so far. I feel like we've gotten so many tips on how to talk to editors and what you should even be expecting because I think that when we go into the process of writing a manuscript, this part of it, this editing part of it, just gets kind of pushed way out. Like, oh, I'll just deal with that when I deal with it. But when you get to that point, now you really have to know some things. You have to be able to have these conversations and you have to understand a little bit about yourself, a little bit about how you like to be communicated with, right? If you
Yeah.
go into a relationship and you don't know enough about yourself, that might build a little resentment, that might build some issues. So definitely know about your own communication style so that you can work with editors properly. But I just want to close out with if we have any encouragement for our audience that is kind of on the fence, they're really trying to get their project done, or maybe it's even stuck in their head a little bit and they're dealing with like fear or imposter syndrome and they just need that support to break free. Can you encourage my audience?
Yeah. Every great book that has ever been written, not even every great book, every book that has ever been written, the writer or author has experienced a moment when they've had to give themselves permission to take themselves seriously. If you're waiting for the right time, this is your sign that your story matters, your perspective is needed. You have this on your heart for a reason, whether it's the universe or the Lord or whatever it is that you believe in that's telling you to write this book. It's on your heart for a reason. So it's not about having all the right answers. It's just about the intention and trusting that you can grow into a writer that you need to be as you grow. You can learn, you can fly the plane while you're building it, build the plane while you're flying it. I don't know what the saying is. I've already said it like twice on this interview. You don't have to do any of this alone. There are communities of people that are doing the same thing. Find them. Doesn't have to be through me. You can find them on TikTok. You can find them on social media. You can find them at conferences. But all you have to do is give yourself that permission to get started.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Brooke. And thank you for your time because this has been really valuable. And I think that my audience is going to get that little boost of encouragement that they need to get started on this and not feel so scared about the editing process because
Mhm.
they're meant to be here to help you make it the best that you can. So it's
Yeah.
not scary, it's exciting and exhilarating. And I would just like to ask if you can tell us where we can find you, how we can look into joining the Hive Collective.
So if you want to reach out to us directly, you can email us at hello@blackbearcoms.net, which is black, BLACK, bear, BEAR, comms, COMMS.net. Or you can go to our website, which right now is under construction, but it will be much better soon. You can still go to it and either way and find us. It's blackbearcoms.net.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'll make sure I'll have every one of those in the description box below so that anybody can get a hold of you easily and quickly. And I just want to say thank you again so much for your time. This was such a
Thank you
pleasure.
so much.
Of course. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode for Project Seed Money. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And I will see you with another interview next week.